Prince William said that this year has possibly been the hardest of his life, with both his wife and father diagnosed with cancer earlier this year.
What do you think Prince William is feeling at this moment? Do you think he's feeling the weight that I'm next?
Prince William became the Prince of Wales in 2022. In the same year, he became the Duke of Cornwall and also gained control of the Duchy of Cornwall, a large estate worth over £1 billion.
William now assumes the Scottish titles which have meant so much to me. He succeeds me as Duke of Cornwall and takes on the responsibilities for the Duchy of Cornwall, which I have undertaken for more than 5 decades.
But it seems the prince wants nothing more than to become king. Prince William has reportedly taken the throne, stripping his father, King Charles, of his title. The unexpected turn has left the world questioning what has led to his action. How has the public reacted to William's ascension? And what does this mean for the future of Britain's centuries-old institution? The details are concerning, and you'll see as you join us in this video. When Prince William is supposed to become king. After 70 years as Britain's queen, Elizabeth II passed away at age 96 on September 8, 2022.
Tonight, after 70 years as monarch of the British Commonwealth, Queen Elizabeth II passes away at age 96.
With her passing, her eldest son Charles became king right away, and his son Prince William moved up as the next in line. The British monarchy has specific rules about who inherits the throne. The British monarchy follows a clear and specific line of succession, governed by rules set out in centuries-old laws and traditions to determine who inherits the throne. These rules prioritize direct descendants of the reigning monarch, starting with the eldest child and moving down through their children. Today, the line of succession places Charles III's eldest son, Prince William, directly after him, followed by William's children in birth order. This structure ensures a clear and stable order for future kings and queens, but Prince William appears to have broken this order by taking up the throne. What made him do it? Keep watching to find out, as the answers will put you in awe. There are rumors that Prince William has seized the throne from King Charles due to his father's failing health, which many would consider a very bold but calculated move.
I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you also for the kind messages of support for Catherine and for my father, especially in recent days.
The palace has been understanding, yet has not spoken about the actual extent of Charles's illness, and because of this, quiet concerns are being raised. King Charles, 75, was diagnosed recently with a form of cancer, which was discovered by accident when he was being treated for an enlarged prostate.
We've received breaking news from Buckingham Palace, which has announced that the King has been diagnosed with cancer.
While the palace made assurances that Charles is committed to his recovery and intends to return to his duties, sources say that insiders are increasingly questioning his ability to fulfill the demands of the throne. For Prince William and Kate, the idea that Charles should be encouraged to abdicate had always been unthinkable. The couple had been insistent that, for as long as he was physically capable, Charles should be king. Still, if the report by In Touch is to be believed, Prince William must have decidedly realized that time may not be on Charles's side, as his condition will eventually necessitate his stepping back. This is a fact William couldn't afford to ignore, even if it meant his taking steps sooner rather than later. With Charles in declining health, some speculate that William may feel, with the pressures of one day being king, that he must act. While the palace insists Charles stays optimistic, the demands of the monarchy require a certain strength and stamina that Charles can tragically not sustain indefinitely. William would know the stakes, and thus could have felt the need to assume more control, perhaps even stepping into a role which, by right, would not normally fall to him until some sort of formal abdication or succession took place. This transition would be contentious, as William's early assumption, or his discreet hastening of his father's retirement, could be seen by many as a breach of protocol. If circumstances necessitated it, Prince William could find himself taking on greater responsibilities, possibly even stepping into the role of the monarch
Prince William is not excluded by King Charles as he trains for his future role as monarch. The Prince of Wales was reported to want more control over the monarchy. A royal commentator has said claims of a rift between the King and the Prince of Wales are untrue.
Should King Charles be unable to fulfill his duties? Such a scenario might unfold if King Charles were to experience significant health issues or face an extended absence. Already serving as Counselor of State, Prince William is well placed to represent the crown when needed. This prestigious title, assigned to select members of the royal family, grants them the authority to temporarily assume the monarch's duties during illness or absences, ensuring that essential functions continue seamlessly. But is Prince William merely stepping up, or is he taking over? Let's find out. The thin line between stepping up and taking over. Well, under British royal rules, if something happened to King Charles that made him unable to carry out his duties as king, the next in line would take over. This would be temporary, with William acting as regent, meaning that he assumed the duties of the king, but did not necessarily become king. In the case of King Charles's abdication, which is more of a fancy word for giving up the throne or death, William would be officially known as king. History shows many examples of this process. For instance, King George III, during his reign, was incapacitated due to mental health issues, and his then son, the future King George IV, was appointed Prince Regent, carrying out royal duties in place of his father until his death, where he became officially recognized as king. Another example is that in 1947, when Queen Wilhelmina, owing to her poor health, made her daughter, Princess Juliana, regent. Later, in 1948, Wilhelmina abdicated, and Juliana became the queen.
And at The Hague, Princess Juliana arrives at the historic Hall of Knights to be sworn in as regent. Before a full government assembly, the ceremony was opened by the parliamentary president.
In such a hypothetical situation, if William were called upon to act as regent, it would be temporary, till King Charles was able to take up his duties once more. In the case of a permanent change, William would become king under the royal line of succession. In this manner, the system of the royal family provides stability and continuity throughout changes. To those who might consider such a move by William as taking over, it is his duty as a son to protect and serve his father, maintaining stability in the monarchy. Others may consider this as an overreach, a personal grab to assume the throne before a time most would consider appropriate. But one thing is that whether it is out of concern for his father or a sure step to secure the future of the monarchy, whichever the case may be, public opinion can go either way. However, taking over is not expected, as the health of King Charles is currently stable, but even then, rumors regarding plans for the reign of Prince William as King William V are already circulating. The early kingship prospect brings conflicting emotions in the UK. The early entry of William into the position of King William V, than most would have expected, was a cause for concern to many in the UK. Some are even worried that, being the young prince, he may actually overstep his involvement in the country's democracy, which would also be against the nation's constitution. At the same time, Prince Harry has stayed in America and is clearly drifting further away from his royal roots. Observers say his relationship with William could get further apart in case William is crowned king. Pressed by Sky News in South Africa on whether he was likely to step into his father's shoes sooner than expected, Prince William played it down with perfect ease, painting a picture of a prince who would be reluctant to ascend the throne early. He thought it was a tricky one, and this shows how grateful he is for the freedom and current scope which comes with being Prince of Wales.
The Prince of Wales says the past year has been the hardest of his life. Speaking to the media in South Africa, Prince William described both his wife and father being diagnosed with cancer as dreadful.
He spoke about the passion he has for his projects, like Earthshot, and even hinted that adding more responsibilities, especially those of a king, wasn't on his immediate agenda. During the interview, William also praised his wife, Kate, for her constant support, as well as his father, King Charles, referring to how brutal recent family challenges had been. His words then painted a picture of a son more focused on stabilizing the family and supporting his father than positioning himself for the throne. Yet, some royal insiders have theorized that William's hesitance might be less about avoiding the throne than about creating the image of a loyal son to avoid looking too eager or ambitious. The comments by the prince seem to be in line with this view. While framing his opposition with respect and reluctance, William manages to avoid the rumors concerning his ambitions and, quite carefully, takes a distance from the ambitions for the crown. For the time being, he reassures people around him and his family that he is not in a hurry to take over his father's responsibilities. But in the royal family, some see this as a strategic move, a calculated attempt by William to buy some time and not ruffle feathers, yet always to keep the door open to succession should Charles's health force the issue. But there's also another reason why rumors about Prince William's wanting to take over become more believable, and it has to do with his uncle, Prince Andrew. Contention over the Windsor estate. Adding more drama to Prince William's possible rise to the throne earlier than expected is the growing controversy surrounding the Royal Lodge, a vast 30-bedroom Windsor estate currently occupied by Prince Andrew. It has become an item of contention within the royal family. King Charles reportedly pressures Andrew to quit it.
The king is apparently losing patience over Prince Andrew's living arrangements, as his brother, the Duke of York, continues to live with his ex-wife and daughters at the Royal Lodge, a 30-room mansion on the Windsor estate.
Well, it would appear that Charles wants the Royal Lodge to remain free for Queen Camilla in the event that anything happens to him. He wants her to be comfortable and secure, while Andrew is simply digging his heels in and refusing to move. If this dispute isn't sorted by Charles during his reign, it could end up being an issue for William when he becomes king. This makes it another obvious reason for William's haste in ascending to the throne to avoid a potential standoff with his uncle in the future. The maintenance of the Royal Lodge alone costs an estimated £400,000 per year, plus another £3 million for security. Now, apparently, Charles has decided to cut off the private funding for Andrew's security. Without that support, Andrew may be financially stretched and unable to meet the expensive security requirements of such a high-value residence. This change alone could make it increasingly difficult for him to retain his grasp on the estate. Speculation is rampant within royal circles, but some of Andrew's friends speculate that Charles's motivations may have less to do with practicality and more to do with cementing the lodge as a potential future home for Camilla. That suggestion is an even graver irritant, as Charles's decisions impact not only the royals, but even public perceptions of fairness in the family. If William ascends to the throne, he could face having to deal directly with this prickly situation. The issue over the Royal Lodge is a complex family dilemma, one that might give William cause to contemplate taking on the kingship sooner rather than later, thereby relieving his father of yet another undesirable family decision. Some people think Prince William wouldn't take the throne from his father simply because he respects royal traditions and cares deeply about helping others. William grew up in the public eye as King Charles III and Princess Diana's eldest son, going through tough times like his parents' divorce and his mother's tragic death.
It is announced from Buckingham Palace that with regret, the Prince and Princess of Wales have decided to separate. This decision has been reached amicably, and they will both continue to participate fully in the upbringing of their children.
After spending over 7 years in the military, he even worked as a pilot, which was unusual for a future king. In 2017, he began focusing fully on his royal duties and charity work. Since Queen Elizabeth II's death in 2022, William has been the Prince of Wales, and with his wife Kate and their 3 children, he seems more focused on helping his father and doing his royal duties than becoming king right away. Do you think Prince William's statement of not wanting to take over immediately is genuine, or he's saying that just to hide his royal ambition? By the early 1980s, as Charles and Diana's marriage faltered, Charles found solace in Camilla. Their relationship evolved into a full-blown affair, which became one of the worst-kept secrets within royal circles. For Diana, discovering the truth about Charles and Camilla was devastating. She once famously said, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." The public, however, was largely unaware of the full extent of the affair at the time. Diana continued to put on a brave face, carrying out her royal duties with grace and charm. Yet the cracks in her marriage with Charles were becoming increasingly visible. Camilla, though rarely in the public eye, remained a looming presence in their relationship. As the years went on, the tension between Diana, Charles, and Camilla only deepened, and the public became more aware. From the moment she married into the British royal family, Lady Diana Spencer seemed to embody the image of a modern-day princess. The life that awaited Diana was far from the fairy tale that people imagined. Her journey as the Princess of Wales was full of emotional turmoil, personal struggles, and public scrutiny, which overshadowed even her humanitarian efforts and the joy of motherhood. Diana entered her marriage with high hopes, but the reality of royal life hit hard. Almost immediately, she found herself struggling to adapt to the rigid structure of the royal family. But the heart of Diana's troubles was the distant and cold relationship with her new husband, Prince Charles. Though they appeared happy in public, behind closed doors, their marriage was something else. And you know the most painful part of it all? Diana's heart had been scarred by the divorce of her parents when she was just a young girl. She had hoped that her own marriage would be a refuge from the pain of her childhood, a union filled with love, laughter, and joy. She dreamed of a partnership that would be the opposite of her parents' failed relationship. But fate had other plans. As she stood by Charles, she felt the sting of betrayal, the ache of disappointment, and the crushing weight of unfulfilled dreams.
It is announced from Buckingham Palace that with regret, the Prince and Princess of Wales have decided to separate. Their Royal Highnesses have no plans to divorce, and their constitutional positions are unaffected.
The little girl who had once hoped for a love that would last a lifetime was now a woman facing the harsh reality of a love that had never truly been hers to begin with. Despite her public image as a glamorous princess, Diana often felt isolated and unloved. She famously remarked in an interview, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." The emotional toll of her troubled marriage began to manifest in physical ways. Diana struggled with bulimia, an eating disorder that haunted her for much of her life as a royal. The pressures of royal life, coupled with her feelings of inadequacy and the constant media scrutiny of her appearance, contributed to her battle with food. Diana later spoke openly about her bulimia, admitting that it was a way of coping with the immense emotional strain she was under. That was not even all. In addition to bulimia, Diana faced periods of severe depression. She felt trapped in the royal family, with few people to confide in. Her mental health struggles were largely kept hidden from the public for many years, but privately, Diana sought help, meeting with therapists and counselors to navigate her personal challenges. Despite her efforts to get better, she often felt unsupported by the royal family. Her public image as a radiant, smiling princess only served to deepen the contrast with the inner pain she was enduring. If there was one thing that Diana hoped to find true joy, it was motherhood. Diana gave birth to her first son, Prince William, followed by Prince Harry. Becoming a mother gave her life a new purpose, and she was fiercely protective of her sons. Diana broke royal tradition in many ways, from choosing her own maternity hospital to insisting on being a mother and nanny to her children, rather than relying solely on nannies. She was often seen playing with her boys in public, taking them to amusement parks to give them as much of a normal childhood as possible. Despite the joy her sons brought her, Diana's struggles within her marriage did not disappear. The birth of her children couldn't mend the cracks in her relationship with Charles, and the emotional distance between them only grew.
They think this has been a disastrous journey for them. They believe that a lot of their problems, the unpopularity of the monarchy in this country, now stems from her.
Despite the restrictions and traditions of royal duty, Diana carved out her own path, becoming a global humanitarian icon. Her compassion for those in need and her willingness to engage with the most marginalized members of society set her apart from other royals. One of Diana's most impactful efforts was her work with AIDS patients. At a time when the stigma surrounding the disease was rampant, Diana challenged public perceptions by visiting AIDS patients in hospitals, holding their hands, and demonstrating that the illness could not be spread through casual contact. This gesture of humanity made headlines worldwide and helped break down the fear and misunderstanding surrounding AIDS. Diana championed causes related to homelessness, leprosy, and children's hospitals. Her ability to connect with people from all walks of life, whether they were impoverished children or world leaders, earned her the nickname the People's Princess. In 1996, the divorce between Charles and Diana was finalized, officially ending what had once been seen as the fairy tale marriage of the century. After the breakdown of their marriage, Charles and Diana's lives took different paths. Diana found comfort in her fitness routine and horseback riding. She grew close to her riding instructor, James Hewitt. Over the years, speculation has swirled about the resemblance between Prince Harry and James Hewitt, with some suggesting that Hewitt might be Harry's biological father. Hewitt publicly denied this, stating that he and Diana didn't start their friendship until after Harry was born. He said the timeline doesn't even add up. On August 31, 1997, tragedy struck. While fleeing from paparazzi in Paris, Diana's car crashed, leading to her end. Sorrows filled everywhere. The People's Princess was gone. She was just 36 years old. She didn't deserve to die like that. The world learned of the true nature of Charles and Camilla's relationship when a scandalous phone call between them was leaked.
Telephone conversation between the prince and his former girlfriend, Camilla Parker Bowles. Buckingham Palace has refused to comment.
The media had a field day, and Camilla became the subject of intense public scorn. She was given the name of the other woman. Camilla was criticized in the press, portrayed as the cold-hearted woman who had stolen Charles from his young, beautiful wife. She was stalked by paparazzi, her every move dissected by tabloids, and her reputation as the homewrecker became almost impossible to shake. Camilla had never sought the limelight, but now she was front and center in one of the most controversial royal scandals in history. The public viewed her with disdain, and her name was often accompanied by headlines of betrayal and deceit. When Charles and Diana officially divorced,
Diana has agreed to get a divorce from Prince Charles, the final blow to the illusion of that Cinderella marriage. Obviously, this is not quite like any other divorce.
Charles could not marry Camilla immediately. It was not that simple. The British royal family is steeped in tradition, and the prospect of Charles marrying a divorced woman, let alone one who had been a central figure in such a public scandal, was met with considerable resistance. The Church of England, of which the monarch is the supreme governor, did not at the time approve of remarriage after divorce, particularly when the former spouse was still living. In the years following Diana's death, Charles and Camilla had to proceed cautiously. Despite the obstacles, Charles was committed to making Camilla a part of his life. Slowly but surely, he began to reintroduce her to the public, and more importantly, to the royal family. The Queen, who had been notably frosty towards Camilla for years, began to warm up to the idea of her son finding happiness. Charles and Camilla made their first official appearance together at a birthday party for Camilla's sister.
Prince of Wales and Camilla Parker Bowles seen together in public quite clearly, coming down the steps of the Ritz after the party for the 50th birthday party for Camilla's sister.
This event, though seemingly low-key, was a significant step in signaling that Camilla was no longer to be hidden away. Camilla herself also undertook efforts to reshape her public image. She began engaging in various charitable activities, focusing on causes close to her heart, such as literacy and osteoporosis awareness. By 2005, the tides had turned enough for Charles and Camilla to finally marry, but even then, it was not a simple affair. Even with the marriage, Camilla's acceptance was not guaranteed. She was given the title Duchess of Cornwall rather than the traditional Princess of Wales, out of respect for Diana's enduring legacy. The public's feelings toward Camilla were still mixed, with many still unable to forgive her for the pain they believed she had caused Diana. Camilla's road to acceptance was far from complete. It will probably take years of dedicated public service, quiet dignity, and consistent support of Prince Charles before public opinion would soften. Prince William and Prince Harry had always found it hard to accept Camilla. Prince Harry refused to see beyond his father needing a queen beside him and focused more on Camilla's act of trying to rehabilitate her image. He developed a deep resentment towards Camilla. The young prince's anger and hurt over his mother's death and Camilla's presence in their lives created a rift that would take years to mend. Many said it was as a result of what he discovered about Camilla and her acts in the royal family. Now here is one of the most interesting parts. In all this, there was the existence of a sister, which we didn't know about. Stay tuned because you really don't want to miss out on this. Prince William's secret sister finally revealed. The British royal family is no stranger to complex family dynamics, but one of the less known and underexplored stories revolves around the relationship between Prince William, Prince Harry, and Laura Lopes. As the daughter of Camilla and stepsister to the princes after Camilla's marriage to King Charles, Laura's role in the royal family has largely been kept private. Tensions existed between William, Harry, and Laura as a result of the complicated history between their parents. For many years, Laura Lopes lived quietly away from the public eye. As the daughter of Camilla, she was part of the aristocracy, but did not face the same intense media scrutiny as her mother or Prince Charles's family. While Camilla's name was regularly splashed across headlines due to her controversial relationship with Prince Charles, Laura remained largely out of the spotlight, living a more private life. Even after Camilla became Duchess of Cornwall, Laura maintained a low profile, continuing her life as an art curator and later marrying Harry Lopes. This private life was intentional. Both Laura and her brother, Tom Parker Bowles, kept their distance from the royal limelight as they grew up in a different world, less consumed by royal protocols and public expectations. But with their mother's marriage to Prince Charles, there's no denial that Laura found herself indirectly tied to the royal family in a new way. And as her mother began taking on more public responsibilities, the question of how to integrate Camilla's children with Charles's sons, William and Harry, became increasingly relevant. William and Harry, who are still processing their mother Princess Diana's death.
She'd had quite a severe head injury, but she was very much still alive on the back seat. And those people that caused the accident, instead of helping, were taking photographs of her dying on the back seat. And then those photographs made their way back to news desks.
Reportedly struggled with accepting Camilla as their stepmother. As a result, this tension extended to her children, particularly Laura Lopes. It was no secret that William and Harry deeply resented Camilla's role in the breakdown of their parents' marriage. This resentment, combined with the natural emotional complexities given how everything unfolded, led to conflicts between the princes and Laura. William and Laura were known to have fierce arguments during their teenage years, with both sides blaming the other's parents for the hurt they had experienced. Laura, who was protective of her mother, harbored her own resentment toward Charles for the public scrutiny and the toll it had taken on her family. At the same time, William felt a lingering bitterness about his mother's suffering and the role that Camilla had played in her unhappiness. The feelings of betrayal and loss that the young princes experienced added to the friction, complicating their relationship with Laura. While William and Harry grew up in the full glare of the media spotlight, Laura's upbringing and adulthood were comparatively shielded from public view. Even after her mother's marriage to Charles, Laura rarely made headlines. She was not officially part of the royal family. This private life also meant that Laura's relationship with William and Harry remained largely out of the public eye.
Kate Middleton gives a heartfelt speech about the mental health of children, insisting this is something I really do care about.
My own journey into understanding the importance of early childhood actually started with adults and not with children. It was about prevention. I wanted to understand what more we could do to help prevent some of today's toughest social challenges and what more we could do to help with the rising rates of poor mental health.
While many philanthropists are known for supporting various causes by donating large sums of money and making brief public appearances, Princess Catherine prefers to take a more practical approach. She endeavors to meet the people in person, speaking with them and offering the encouragement they need. Because of these personal encounters, there are many stories of children who almost gave up on life but began to smile again after a friendly, unexpected visit from the princess.
Kate Middleton made an appearance to open the redeveloped children's center at the hospital, and she was greeted by fans outside. One little girl gave her 2 stuffed bears.
What happened during these visits? What did she say to them? Join us as we explore some of these heartwarming stories and the many deeds of Catherine Middleton. Craig's big moment with the princess. Catherine Middleton is known for getting deeply involved in various charities, with many efforts focusing on children's mental health, early childhood development, and the family's well-being. Many of her initiatives highlight these commitments, such as the Royal Foundation for Early Childhood, aimed at helping parents and older people understand the importance of early childhood experiences. Unlike many philanthropists, Catherine is known for directly getting involved in humanitarian efforts as much as she can. This was made evident in January of 2018, when Catherine and her husband traveled to Coventry to catch up with royal appointments. Among these engagements were a visit to the city's cathedral, a renowned cafe built to provide work opportunities to recovering addicts, and Coventry University's new science and health building. Catherine and her husband were familiarizing themselves with the Positive Youth Foundation.
William and I are absolutely delighted to be with you here in Birmingham on World Mental Health Day for our Royal Foundation Youth Forum. William and I continue to be inspired to see young people, like you all here today, leading this charge.
An initiative formed to help young people get better careers and opportunities. It was then when they came across a little boy who looked sick. Upon seeing the boy, Catherine immediately got involved, walking over to him and handing over a sick bag. The boy's eyes widened as he saw the Princess of Wales gently placing her hands on him to make sure he felt better. Craig Skipper, the 10-year-old boy, had begun to feel sick after waiting 3 hours for Catherine and her husband to arrive. And when they did arrive, the child was looking tired, like was about to faint. Concerned about the young boy, Catherine bent down to talk to him. With concern in her eyes, she had gone to one of her bodyguards and returned with a brown paper bag for the boy. Thankfully, the boy didn't need it, as he felt better not long afterwards. To the Princess of Wales, this was just one encounter out of several, but to the young boy, this would be a moment he would never forget. Carol Flynn, a learning mentor at the nearby school, spoke about this, stating how Catherine took her time with Craig. It was obvious she was a mother. According to Flynn, she could almost see the love in her eyes at that point. This moment highlighted her instinctive caring nature for children, but it wasn't the only time something like this happened. Solving puzzles with the princess. Catherine's motherly nature was most apparent when she joined the pupils of St. John's Church of England Primary School in a craft lesson.
The Princess of Wales talked with young students about connecting with others and experiencing different feelings. She sat down with children from St. John's Church of England Primary School in Bethnal Green, London's East End, and joined them for a craft lesson.
She got to work with the children, solving puzzles and building blocks as she talked to them about mental health in the simplest words they could understand. As she worked with the children, she asked each of them how they coped with their emotions. The princess had supported the various charities that established the Children's Mental Health Week, a period set apart for different activities aimed at helping children achieve and enjoy complete mental and emotional well-being. This period was established in 2015, with a mandate for all week schools, families, and youth groups to get involved in the initiative. Catherine had shared her convictions about this multiple times, stating it as very good for emotional health and well-being. The princess stated she was a firm believer in giving children the tools needed for navigating the mental issues that come with growing up, and she demonstrated that in this encounter with the children. During the crafts lesson, a young boy told the princess how connecting helps him express how he feels to people around him.
The project we're working is connecting with others.
And why is that important, do you think?
Connecting releases our emotions to your other people that you care about.
Absolutely.
After the princess responded, another classmate spoke about how she coped with her strong feelings by taking deep breaths and drinking some water. When the session came to an end, Catherine encouraged the children to always express how they felt to those who cared about them, while asking others to do the same as well. Today, Princess Catherine is known for providing the funding needed to run several hospitals and caring homes. Among these centers is the Evelina London Children's Hospital, whose efforts in providing healthcare services to children and young adults have been praised by the royal family. As we shall see, each of her visits to these hospitals made headlines. Catherine's hospital visits and experiences. Perhaps the most notable of her visits to the Children's Hospital was in December 2018, when Catherine and her husband announced they would be patronizing the establishment moving forward. This brought smiles to the faces of many, and the event was marked by Catherine's interactions with the children receiving treatment. She showed great empathy to the little ones, putting them at ease at a time of great distress. She also spoke with some of them about their experiences by offering words of comfort and encouragement. Being very practical in interacting with children, Catherine took part in various activities. She joined them in making decorations and pictures, creating a peaceful atmosphere that lifted their little minds. After interacting with the children, Catherine took the time to speak with the hospital staff, appreciating them for their hard work and dedication to the young children. The Princess of Wales made her next visit in February 2019 to celebrate the hospital's 150th anniversary. As usual, she joined the children in making birthday cards for the hospital, bringing attention to the establishment's history, latest achievements, and ongoing efforts to help children across London and beyond. It was celebrated in grand style, and her next visit was scheduled for the following year, but something unexpected came up. As we all know, the pandemic of 2020 triggered a lot of restrictions around the world, and London was not an exception. So the princess had to adapt to the times by engaging with the hospital virtually. Wanting to provide comfort and entertainment at a difficult time, Catherine took part in a virtual storytelling session with the children watching from the hospital. She read stories from different books to the little ones as they listened with excitement. After that, she had a separate session with the hospital staff to discuss the challenges they had with the many restrictions that came with the pandemic. She encouraged them to keep pushing forward while expressing her gratitude, promising to keep supporting the hospital as she always had.
Over the last 9 months, the pandemic has been a worrying time for us all. We've experienced isolation, loss, and uncertainty. But in the midst of this crisis, we've also seen huge acts of kindness, generosity, and empathy.
Aside from this, Princess Catherine has also been a patron of East Anglia's children's hospices. Known to many as EACH, the charity offers care and support for children with life-threatening conditions, along with their families across East Anglia. She became the royal patron in 2012, early in her role as Princess of Wales. This decision was influenced by her natural interest in children's health and the well-being of the family. This act alone helped raise the profile of EACH, bringing greater awareness about what they do and its importance. Not long after doing this, Catherine opened the Treehouse, a new caring home for the terminally ill, in March of that same year. It was one of her first single engagements, and it marked the start of her direct involvement in charity. There, she met with the families of the children, showing great empathy and helping them feel heard and understood. She ended the occasion with a heartfelt speech, showing admiration for the children's courage while explaining the importance of the EACH initiative. However, royal patronage was not enough to build these caring homes and keep them running at full capacity. Enter the fundraising campaigns, an opportunity for people who admire the works of the organization to get involved by their contributions. Catherine's presence has played an active role in supporting these fundraising campaigns, using her platform to encourage participation among those interested. Along with these attempts was the famous Nook Appeal, which was launched in 2014. It was a major fundraising campaign put up to build a new caring home with the latest technologies in Norfolk. Thanks to her influence, the campaign was able to raise the £10 million needed for the project to work. She attended the celebration ceremony in 2015 and returned 4 years later to open the caring home, now named after the campaign, The Nook. What followed was numerous attendances at galas and private events to raise awareness of the initiative and her numerous personal visits to the caring homes. Often carried out privately, Catherine uses the chance to connect personally with some of the children, participating in various activities including music therapy sessions and outdoor activities. Many caregivers at the homes have told stories of how children had given up hope before having a private visit from the princess. Afterwards, they become inspired to fight for their lives with smiles on their faces. For the parents whose children had the most terminal cases, Catherine offered a listening ear, doing the least she could do so they could at least feel heard and supported to the bitter end. These efforts weren't stopped by the pandemic either. as through virtual calls and visits, the princess continued to support the initiatives despite the restrictions. This was made evident during Children's Hospice Week in May of 2020. This time, she took part in a virtual call with families and staff from each, also joining in a virtual storytelling session with the children.
Hello guys.
Hi.
Hello. Prince William and Kate Middleton couldn't have chosen a better cause for their first video call.
Her narration of The Owl Who Was Afraid of the Dark was most thrilling, with children giggling in excitement as they heard the princess read them the story. The Royal Marsden Hospital also gets support from the princess, known for its intensive research and care for patients battling with cancer. She also raises awareness of the issues addressed by these hospitals while making sure they can continue helping people as they always have. Her first visit to the Royal Marsden Hospital was in September of 2011, not long after her marriage to Prince William. This was part of her earliest attempts to get familiar with the charitable causes and organizations that have been supported by the royal family. Since 2007, Prince William has always been the president of the Royal Marsden, continuing the legacy of his mother, Princess Diana. Catherine and her husband met with the young cancer patients, talking with the children and their families while offering words of comfort and encouragement. The hospital usually put children through therapeutic activities to reduce stress. This time, Catherine took part in several of them. Among these sessions were simple crafts, painting and playing games, creating a relaxing and joyful atmosphere. While these events were designed to do just that, having the princess directly involved was a game changer. Though the main purpose of the royal couple's arrival was to draw public attention to the Royal Marsden's work in cancer care and research, Catherine couldn't help but spend much of her time playing and talking with the children, as she always did. Her next notable visit was in October 2015, when she visited the Oak Center for Children and Young People at Royal Marsden Hospital. This visit was focused on the specialized care given to young cancer patients. As usual, she interacted with the children by listening and showing support in the best ways she could, especially those facing the most painful treatments and longest stays at the hospital. The stories Catherine heard from these children were so dark that she wanted them to escape the realities of their illness, even though it was just for a moment. So they got into therapeutic activities as soon as possible, engaging in playful sessions that brought smiles to the faces of the children who were in pain. Still having the children in mind, Catherine spoke with the doctors to learn more about the terminal cases some of the children were facing. Though their hard work was promising, a lot of the children were suffering terribly, and something needed to be done to improve patient care. So, for the next 2 years, several improvements were made to the Oak Center for Children and Young People and the Royal Marsden Hospital. Among these improvements was an increased capacity to accommodate more patients. This way, the hospital would treat a much greater number of children and young people with cancer. They did this by providing more inpatient beds and spaces for daycare. This way, there would be more flexibility for both long-term stays and outpatient treatments. These services were more streamlined for effective care, with many areas redesigned to better meet the needs of children and their families, providing more space for consultations, treatments, and recovery.